You can see by the outpouring of the people in this room today that this community has been rocked by 3 murders in 3 days. And I had the distinct honor to meet with Nunu's family and aunts and extended family. Her mom, Deshawn Robinson, is here with us, and her stepmom, Lakeisha Jackson. I first off want to express the condolences that we shared earlier in the mayor's office, and let you know that we are doing everything we can to make sure that Nunu has not gone in vain, and that we will do whatever we can to make Bridgeport a better place. The chief and I would like to let everyone know in the city that we're working very closely with all of the authorities, both state and federal, to redouble our efforts to attack this disease of gun violence that we are experiencing. I talked many times over the weekend with Mike Lawler, who is Governor Malloy's special assistant, and he will be coming here on Thursday with representatives of the state program to see how we can learn from what New Haven's doing. Recently at a U.S. Conference of Mayors meeting, I was privileged to see what New Orleans and Baltimore and Chicago are doing with the ceasefire program, which uses interrupters to go and diffuse situations before they get to this stage. There really are no words that we can give the family here that's grieving, but I can tell you that we are very upset about what happened. We need more help from other levels of government. We need to get these illegal weapons out of the hands of young boys in this community. We need summer jobs. We need more recreation for our children. And we are just about as fed up as you can get with this gun violence. And we as a community want more help. Now, in asking for more help, we are also committed. We're committed at the city council level, at the state delegation level, at our clergy level, and most importantly, at our law enforcement level. And we are going to be implementing many new tactics. And I will tell you that we are not going to tell you all of our tactics. We will be working with the state police. We will be working with corrections. We are already working with corrections and juvenile justice in a stepped-up manner, as well as the U.S. Attorney's Office and the state police. And they will be here on Thursday, as they have been in the past, and we will be stepping up our efforts. We, as a community, know that if these children and young men did not have these illegal weapons, if the Congress had an ounce of courage, they would ban assault weapons. They let that go by. They let that expire. They allow these giant loopholes in our gun laws to allow guns to pour into the city and suburban streets of this nation. And if this Congress had an ounce of courage, they would stand up to the NRA and they would say enough is enough. More children don't need to die for us to know that this is an outrage. And we've got to do something about it. We've got to get these guns out of our children and our young men's hand. We're going to be working at every level we possibly can to empower people, to get children into mental health counseling, to mentor, and to all of us bind together as a community to do everything we possibly can to make sure this doesn't happen again. I'd like to ask the chief to talk about the things that our police department will be doing in the next few days to step up our efforts. Chief?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to thank all the elected officials, clergy, members of the community here that are here to support the Bridgeport Police Department, the city of Bridgeport. My deepest condolences to the family and to all the families who've lost loved ones over the years and most recently. I promise you that we will do and are doing and will continue to do everything in our power to bring justice to Nunu. And to the other 2 victims over this weekend. We have a tremendous police department. We have a great detective bureau, and they're out there working relentlessly to bring justice to Nunu. As the mayor said, we've got to get the guns off the street. It's too easy to have the gun and to use the gun. And so all of us together need to work together with steely resolve to get these guns off the street. All of us together are so much more powerful. All of us together. None of us alone can do this. How many more children need to die before we come together as a community and take these guns away from our children? We look forward to working with the community together to change the behavior, to change the mindset, to take the guns out of the hands of the people who would use them against our children. And we will use every tool at our disposal as a law enforcement agency to bring these people to justice. Once again, my deepest condolences.
Before we get to the press, I think one point that we all would echo is these shooters have parents. They have aunts and uncles. If you're an aunt or an uncle or a grandparent or a parent of a kid who has an illegal gun, you're doing your kid a favor if you turn him in. You give the chief a confidential call, it will remain confidential, and you'll be doing your kid the best service you possibly can, because we're going to take that gun away, and he's not going to be able to hurt himself or anyone else. So parents, do your job. Call us up. Get these guns out of the hands of these boys. We can do this if we have good information. Brian?
Mayor, so can you confirm that the weapons that were involved in the 3 shootings this weekend were in fact illegal? Do you know for a fact that these were illegal firearms?
99% of the guns used in the commission of crime in the city of Bridgeport or anywhere else are illegal. You know, we're going to do a better job working with the media to track these guns down and ask that question. But we all have, the media and the politicians, have for too long not asked this question of where the hell are these guns coming from and how they're so easy to get. Now we know, if you want to really get into the weeds, that ATF will close down an illegal gun store like they did with the Andrews, and they can sell all of their inventory without a criminal background check. And we know that if you have a gun show, it's a giant loophole. You can have a gun show with no criminal background check. We also know that many of the states, because Congress has no guts, have loose laws that allow anybody to go in and buy ammunition and guns. And then they flood into our street, and they become commonplace. Since when should handguns in the hands of 15 and 10 and 20-year-old kids, since when should that be commonplace in a civilized society?
But I want to be clear. I understand your point about the 99%, but I just want to be factually clear. That are you certain these guns are illegal guns, or you're just?
I am certain that they were used illegally, sir.
So either or security guard or, yeah.
Any other questions?
Can you provide any information about this most recent homicide in terms of the victim, or if there's any relation to the 2 prior incidents?
Okay, so we're talking about the most
It's made today,
I
yes.
apologize.
No, it's okay.
At this point, there does not appear to be any connection to the previous 2. I don't have any further information. I can tell you that this was a very deliberate act. It was not a random act of violence. This was a person who was targeted, and the perpetrator was highly motivated and had one singular purpose, and then left the scene after accomplishing that purpose.
In other words, this wasn't straight gunfire.
Absolutely not.
Before we go on, I'd just like to give everybody an opportunity to just like give their name and their title so you can see the people that are before you, starting with Lydia.
The east side of Bridgeport.
I'm Leticia Colonian of the City Councilwoman for 131st District, which is the south end of Bridgeport.
I'm Denise Delamoy, City Councilwoman for 131st District.
Carolyn Vermont, President for NAACP. I'm Susan Brantley. I'm also on the City Council. I represent the 130th District.
Judy Allison, President for the Greater Bridgeport Council. Pastor David Smith, Executive Director of Paths Given Ministries.
Prophetess Jerry Player, community leader, and I serve as the minister to P.T. Barn County.
Angel DePara Jr., City Council 136th District.
Jose Quiñones from Team Challenge, New Haven, and
Clinton Avenue's biggest church.
Abraham Hernandez, Northeast Regional Coordinator for the National Islamic Christian Leadership.
Nicole Matthews, member of YANA. You are not alone, Bridgeport.
Kinsley Osei, Executive Director of Connecticut Against Violence.
Pastor Moses Mercedes, the priest of this church, and Radio Amor.
Before we introduce, let's
Tom McCarthy, City Council President.
Thank you, Mayor. This is certainly a sad occasion, but there's something that we can all do. And I have asked for a moment of personal privilege with all of the effort and rejuvenated efforts that the police department and others will put forward. I think we have to think of ways to prevent that, and that's a role that all of us can play. That's a very important part of the mix. And to continue this discussion, I've asked some of the ministers, you, others, to be at the ABCD office tomorrow at 11 o'clock, from 11 to 12. We will have a discussion on what we can do to prevent these things from happening in this city that we all need to embrace and come together this point. We have as much to do towards solving this as the police or anyone else must do. But this all needs to be on the matrix, not the police up here looking down and the rest of us waiting for them to do it. We have to do it. So join me tomorrow night.
We appreciate ABCD for taking this leadership position, and Council, as the head of our legislative delegation, Andres Ayala, I'd like to say.
Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of the Bridgeport delegation, my name is Andres Ayala. I'm the state representative of the 128th District. And my condolences go out to all of the families who have experienced this horrific crime. There aren't any words to express how sad we feel, and we can never even step into your shoes to even imagine how it feels. But we know that it's been a tough couple of days for the city of Bridgeport. It's been a tough couple of months, to be quite honest. And the fact of the matter is that we need to call for peace. There needs to be a ceasefire in the city. Our people, our young people need to make better decisions. We need better conflict resolution. It's not about resorting to violence to figure out how we're going to deal with each other. There needs to be a call for decency, humaneness. And that's what I ask for. I ask that the city, everyone who's listening, everyone who's paying attention out there, so let's just step back from all of this craziness, all of this madness, and let's act like brothers and sisters. Let's resolve our problems peacefully without having to resort to violence. And I ask our leadership here in the city, from government officials all the way to community activists and our clergy, to step up our efforts to lead that conversation amongst our people. We know that it's not the majority here in the city of Bridgeport. We know that it's a very small minority of people that are committing these awful, awful acts. We need to make sure that we're able to get to them so that we can stop all of this madness. Thank you.
Any further questions? Ma'am?
I was just wondering, what do you tell the families that are already hurting and the residents that blame the city, that blame you, that blame the police chief for the violence that has already taken place?
You know, if I could bring back any of the victims, I would. I'm only one man. I'm doing what I can. I'm just as angry about the violence as anyone. Much of this is beyond the city boundaries. You know, we need better laws. We don't need a Tea Party in Washington cutting all the social programs and the safety net to help keep people whole. I was just informed by the family that the counseling services for them and their children, big extended family, not available. That's not right. We're going to work on that. We're going to find them counselors. If it takes me all day tomorrow, I'll be on the phone to help them. But we have to ask, where's our country headed? Is it really headed in the right direction? When cities are struggling all over and jobs are scarce and people are feeling hopeless? We really need some strong leadership from Washington. We're trying to do the best we can. We're looking to other examples in New Haven and Baltimore and New Orleans, and we're going to do the best to implement these. I can guarantee you that. If I could bring anyone back, I certainly would. But I'm just another mortal trying to do the best I can. And I should point out we're also joined by Ernie Newton, who was in the legislature for many years. This Mike.
Mayor, about 2 months ago you announced or you ordered the police department to begin tracing guns that were seized in any crimes. The Project Safe Neighborhood program has been doing that for about 7 or 8 years now. What type of pattern do you see? Where are these guns coming from that have been seized so far? Idea?
The truth is, Mike, we haven't recovered a lot of weapons connected with these crimes recently. The perpetrators remain at large, and the weapons have not been recovered.
The ones that have been recovered, have you been able to see any type of pattern?
No.
From out of state, from burglaries?
At this point, no.
Questions? Any other questions? Brian?
Chief, can you talk a bit, in light of the violence this weekend, is there anything different the department is doing in terms of stepped up patrols, more patrols in certain neighborhoods? I mean, anything that we can let city residents know about the action?
Yeah, there is. There is. We talked about some leadership stepping up. Governor Malloy, about a month or two ago, put up some money for our department to have some heightened patrols during the summer, and we've actually begun taking advantage of that as recently as 2 weeks ago. And so we will randomly be out in target hotspot zones, you know, areas where there are high incidents of violent crime, with a number of our patrol officers. And the thing that's kind of unique about this for us is we hear the community's call for community policing. And we have officers that are assigned to beats in our city. Unfortunately, we chase a lot of calls. There's quite a bit of demand, calls for service, 911 calls, you know, other non-emergency calls, but kind of routine calls. But we do over 400 calls a day. So what we're trying to do here is we're going to take our beat officers out of the cars so they don't have to chase the calls. We're going to put them on the sidewalks. We're going to put them in the corners where the incidents are happening, and we're going to have them interact with folks, all the folks on the corner, the shop owners, the kids hanging around, the good people, the bad people, all the people, so that they get to know everyone on their beat. And so afterwards, when they get back in their car and they're not chasing calls, or they're going by that corner, they know who belongs there, they know who doesn't belong there. They have a relationship, they can say hello, right? And by the way, the higher visibility hopefully is going to reduce crime in that area. And this is where the high incidents of violent crime are happening. So it's, you know, multiple approaches, and we have to thank Governor Malloy for making that money available. Now it's a small pot of money, it's a limited, you know, pot of money, and we're, as I say, we're going to do it randomly. It's not going to be every night this summer, but it's going to be randomly through the summer, and we're hoping that that's going to have an impact. I know that it's going to have an impact on the officers assigned to those beats, because now they're going to have an opportunity to get out of the car and make those relationships, make those contacts, and hopefully be able to do their jobs better.
It's more like a community policing.
It absolutely is a community policing effort, yes. And reduce violent crime.
Mayor, there seems to be a lot of, there's anti-violence groups and there's churches and the NAACP all standing with you, so there seems to be a lot of support, but are you saying that it's really the access to guns that is the linchpin in all this?
For violence with a weapon to occur, you need somebody to hold the weapon and you need the weapon. I think what you see before you is a social fabric of the city, a representation of that can work on the person holding the gun. What we're helpless to do, until Congress, as I said, gets some courage, is to control these guns that are flooding the streets of America. Somebody's making a lot of money off of selling these weapons to our kids. So there's two things that are required. To work on the people holding the gun so that they don't resort to violence, so they have more hope, so they have more jobs, so they have summer jobs, so there's more recreation programs, all the things that we're trying to do on a local level, and the people behind me are trying to do every day. But we need help from Congress with the guns. I know Moises wanted to say something. Pastor Moises Mercedes.
Thank you, Mayor. Whatever I was doing Sunday in church was not enough for this perpetrator and for this victim. Whatever the chief of police was doing was not enough. Whatever the mayor was doing was not enough. 1975, my father-in-law, 42 years old minister, was gunned down in the Bronx, 4 bullets coming out of church. When I went to identify his body, he was the number 75 of that night in New York. We cannot wait for the government to do something. We cannot wait for Washington to do something. We cannot wait for another Colorado in Bridgeport to do something in Bridgeport. I think we ministers, legislators, police, and whoever has a conscience have to come together to stop this nonsense. We have too much violence in the heads of our kids already, in our bedrooms. So it's not enough to be a preacher and preach. There's something else that we must do. In coming together and putting aside whatever divides us, to be sure that we change the mindset and the conscience that's wildly destroying our youth. As an adoptive parent of 3 in the city of Bridgeport, and as a father of 3, and as a minister, I ask all of us, let's not talk much more. Let's meet yesterday and put our heads together and help whoever is trying. We all try, but it hasn't been enough. Please. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We also, in light of that, have Connecticut Against Violence has a call for prayer and community meeting at the Cathedral of the Holy Spirit, Union Avenue, Thursday, and we're inviting everyone to attend. Thank you. Any other questions, Mike?
Mayor, what's the status of the curfew, and if it was in place, could it have prevented?
Councilman Blunt and the councilmen that are here, Denise Taylor-Moy, Leticia Colon, Lydia Martinez,
It's on the agenda for Thursday's meeting.
Tom McCarthy all support the curfew. And it'll be before the council this Thursday evening, and we hope it will get an affirmative vote. Whether it would have helped, we'll never know, will we? Because we've waited too long to have it. But we believe that it's another tool for the police, and we will be working along with our police department and with all the other new tools we're learning from those other cities to implement this curfew as best we can.
Mayor, to acknowledge Councilman Baker is here and Councilman Brantley also.
I'm sorry, Yvette Brantley, and I didn't see you, Councilman Andre Baker from East End and the West Side. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question regarding the curfew. The curfew was proposed back in the wintertime. Here we are in the summer, and I can understand that, you know, the council people now after a young lady was shot down in the city of Bridgeport, they're now mentioning the curfew again.
Well, no, it's been working its way through.
I know it's been working its way through, but why now are they arising the issue again? Why aren't the council people being proactive regarding this matter? This is something that should have been a rush process after losing a 14-year-old child. I mean,
well, let me explain how that works, because it hasn't been rushed. There's a group called the ACLU, perhaps you've heard of them, a bunch of very highly paid lawyers who are going to try to sue us and stop us from having a curfew. So they had to, you ever hear the phrase, mind your P's and Q's, dot your I's and cross your T's? They lawyered up. The guys behind me lawyered up. And they figured out a way to get a curfew through that we think the judges will allow to stand. You got to understand, there's state and federal level government, we're the local government. They tell us what we can do and what we can't do. We try to push the envelope for common sense things that we think will keep our kids safer, but we can't always do it regardless of the, or irregardless of the state laws and the federal laws.
I mean,
so they didn't do this Thursday night. This has been, being pushed for many, many months.
I understand, but on a local and federal level, do you need the residents' help?
Yes.
The more people
we need you to support the curfew. We need you to write your congressman and the president. We need you to do all of those things. You heard some very...
And is that something that has been addressed to the people within the community? Have we been notified that the curfew, not only about the curfew, but that the curfew has been withheld because of lawsuits or what have you between this program that's trying to stop the curfew? Us as the people, were we notified of it so that we can write to Congress, so that we can send letters to the president?
That's why we're doing this today.
Send letters to Malloy. Not only today. I'm saying these things because I feel like it's something that wasn't proactive. It's something that stemmed from the murder of a child.
Look at this man here in the black. Ron Pinciero has been doing this for many, many years. He'd be happy to get you involved with this. We need people involved in this fight. And he can tell you exactly how to do it, how to push us politicians. Not that anybody here really needs to be pushed much. We're on board with this, but other ones that aren't. How to find the loopholes in the law and close them. All those things. Ron can tell you about that. And he's Connecticut Citizens Against Gun Violence. And he's been a hero of mine for many years. He's doing great work. And if you talk to him after the meeting, he'd get you involved.
Any other questions from the media?
Yeah, Mike?
Chief, 2 questions.
And then one more after
First,
that.
there were a couple of street robberies on Wood Avenue prior to the merchant being killed. Is there any connection between the two?
We haven't made any yet, Mike, but that's something we're definitely looking into.
And secondly, based on the bullets that have been taken in autopsies, as well as the casings found on the streets during shootings, is there any type of gun that you can single out as being the most popular weapon of the shooters?
No, I think lately the weapon of choice has changed from a semi-automatic to a revolver because it doesn't leave casings on the ground. But I wouldn't say that there's a weapon of choice. I think anything that works, anything they can get their hands on. Our challenge really is to get the guns out of their hands before they have a chance to pull the trigger.
Last question from the media. Brian?
Chief, we should just ask you, can you update us on the investigations for these 3 crimes? Do you have any leads on either of these?
I'm sorry. Yeah, so all 3 investigations are ongoing. There's 3 separate investigations that are ongoing. We're making progress on all 3. Certainly the newest has a long way to go. But as of anything new to offer, no, I'm not going to offer anything new at this point, but I can tell you that our Detective Bureau is second to none. They're on these cases and they're following every lead, and we will bring these folks to justice.
One comment on that. We've had reasonably good cooperation from the public, but we always need more. Today, in fact, people approached me and gave me information which I gave to the chief. Anything that people can give us, we need to get that to the detectives. We want to bring these people to justice, and we're going to need the community's help in doing that.